Alright, we have some, I don't know what that is, some witch doctor looking demonstrations have broken out at the front of the line. I just spoke with Elizabeth Pittenger, the head of the City of Pittsburgh's Police Review Board, and talking about these officers right here, the so-called mystery officers, who are now turning around, and have decided they've done what they needed to do, and they're being hastened away with dark side music from Star Wars. But Ms. Pittenger just said that every single one of those officers, their body armor on their shoulder is blocking their identification number. And she said that every single one of those officers should be disciplined, in her words, for camouflaging or making non-evident their identification numbers, because if they did something or a questionable incident occurred, there'd be no way to tell who they were. And now you can see the Pennsylvania State Police have taken the place of the quote-unquote armored mystery officers, in as much as making sure that the protesters don't turn down Craft Avenue toward Forbes. Meanwhile, the drums are blazing toward the back here. I'm very curious to see how deep this crowd goes as the People's March is underway. And we say farewell to Councilman Kraus. Thank you. Seeds of Peace in the back. They got your lunch ready. And the witch doctors are dancing with NBC's The Daily Show's John Oliver. Here we go. This is almost worth rushing off of the... That is the official kickoff of the Pittsburgh G-20 People's March, when Daily Show Chief British Correspondent John Oliver dances with the witch doctors at the front of the parade. That is the cue to begin this odyssey. It's a long walk downtown if they think they're making it all the way. I think the City County building is their ultimate intended destination. And that would be a good... That's got to be a good 2 to 3 miles away, maybe closer to 3 miles away. Here we hear no justice, no peace, and it looks as though the Free Tibet crowd. Well, you have the people who wanted to sit at the front of the roller coaster. Those are basically for the front. Coming by, we have quite a large contingent for Free Tibet. We saw them earlier today at the in front of Soldiers and Sailors. Very ardent. I would say they were more ardent than the Free Ethiopia and Free Burma, or I should say much more vocally ardent than the Ethiopia and Burmese foreign national protesters we saw earlier. Coming up on their heels, we see China. That's probably, this is still more Tibet. Then we see some healthcare. Pittsburgh welcomes dissent. Pass HR 676 now. That's a healthcare measure, a Pennsylvania single-payer healthcare measure, I believe. Also combined with bring the troops home now. Maybe that's the way to pay for it. Stop NSA crimes. Stop corporate welfare. Nationalize all zombie banks. That's an interesting one. Nationalized banks is not an issue that is going to get a ton of Americans riled up, but the zombie banks, if I remember correctly, we're basically owning them anyway, and there's, to be continued. Pray for peace, the poor and godly, etc. Not sure what the black flag with a red star is. I believe that may be one of the anarchists. Free hugs, P.S. fuck the G-20. That is a well thought out protest idea right there. Jobs in schools, not wars. We have a little labor in the house. Union Carbide, Bhopal, Monsanto in Punjab. So a little industrial, environmental protest going on here. Someone is being hung in effigy. That looks like, we can't tell who that is. It looks to be in the middle of a healthcare mob. It's getting more diffuse, but as I said, it looks like a sizable healthcare contingent. Stop U.S. wars, capitalism failure, education, not indoctrination. Then we have another major contingent. Socialism is the answer. This would be the formal, somewhat walled in by their own banners, I should say, socialist contingency. bailouts, something not war. They want their money going for jobs, housing, healthcare and education, not war, occupation, bank bailouts, and racism. And more socialism is the answer. So the socialist contingent in Pittsburgh goes relatively deep, you could say. It continues past some gentlemen with a tuba and a young lady with a snare drum, a couple of young ladies with snare drums. This is really making it more officially like a parade. If anything does, it would have to be a brass section. Capitalism, it says, bad for the people, bad for the planet. Now here are, I would call this the anarchist contingent. You see the anarchy symbol, a lot of black gear and black banners, no bailouts, etc. The hula hoopers now are simply holding their hula hoops in the air. There being not enough room to hoop, which is a shame because that was definitely a bright spot in the anarchist propaganda. That was, you know, the breaking through a little bit. And that is a fairly dense collection of anarchists we see walking by here. I'd have to say we're now at the point where we've seen a good 100 of them walk by, and that's still largely anarchists. Until we have a couple of national flags here, and then the next banner is yellow. It's time to move beyond coal. Beyond coal, so that might be the forthcoming of a environmental contingent, and indeed I see more green shirts after the black of the anarchists. We see more greens here. Our climate is not your business. There's one sign that we see. Certainly a little more music here. John Oliver still hanging out with the peoples. I'd imagine he is gravitating toward the silliest, and the silliest are no doubt gravitating toward him, as it's no secret that the demonstrators and the media are somewhat of a symbiotic relationship. And I'd even throw the officers in there, some of the officers as well. These continue to be our Pennsylvania State Troopers. There's a good distance between them, not a threatening posture, not a threatening presence, but a clear line. You know, we don't want you turning down Kraft. We don't want you turning down into the Oakland Business District, which is right behind us. I should mention, by the way, we're standing right on looks like Carlow University property, and this would be one of their major buildings at the intersection of all of this. More, we are mad as hell, one sign says, Obama, keep your fair trade. Obama, keep your fair trade proposal, it says. Oh, I'm not sure what that one said. Getting a little sparse here. There's a very young protester, someone who's not particularly concerned with the size and the prominence, with the permitting of this protest march. As ardent as it sounds, as unusual as it is, looking very relaxed at this point. People over profits coming up. It's getting sparser now in the back, although there's definitely, and in the back we have our friends, my personal friends, the Falun Gong contingent from China to protest the practices from China since 1999, when Falun Gong was tolerated and even encouraged in China as a mind, body, spirit health technique, not totally unlike yoga. According to the Falun Gong, now dissidents and protesters, it became too popular. In 1999, they outlawed and immediately cracked down on Falun Gong practitioners, and they claim that they're going to being sent to 5-year or more prison sentences for practicing that art, and harsh, not so much interrogations, but practices in response to the hunger strikes that are sometimes used by Falun Gong practitioners when they're imprisoned or otherwise prevented from practicing their spiritual beliefs. And the Falun Gong does in fact seem to be the last folks in line. I may have missed the Seeds of Peace, who I told were setting up near the back and we're going to provide yummy food for protesters. I am going to hope that they also provide a little yummy food for media bloggers, and at some point later we'll try to sprint and catch up with the protests and see what has befallen them. For Graham Richbaum, this is the Pittsburgh Comet saying, I don't know.